Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is the channel for human design where the viewers ask the questions and I will respond. So without further ado, let's go straight into it from a question from Deep Learning for Growth. Dear Richard, you told us many times that we are not just our design side and not just our personality side, that we are a quantum of both. It makes sense to me. However, as I live my experiment, I observe something interesting. I am a splenic projector. My spleen is defined with the 4816 conscious. On the design side, I have the 18 unconscious, and I have the 4323 channel also unconscious. What I've noticed is that sometimes I am like a mental projector, talking my thoughts out loud, and it helps me gain clarity. Would you say that I can also rely on the mental projector side of me for making decisions? Sometimes I feel fearful, maybe more than is appropriate for the situation. Do you think that the reason for it could be that on the body side, my spleen is undefined? Would you say that I should care for my body like someone with an undefined spleen, no vaccinations, for example? Okay, Deep Learning for Growth, thank you for the question. Well, the problem with relying on the mind for making decisions is that it is not really tied to the decision-making part of you, which is the spleen. It is the spleen that is beneath the mind that comes out with its sensations in the moment. And the mind is basically tracking what's going on in the body, but it doesn't make the decisions. So no, the mental projectors don't have any inner authority. Having said that, because you have an unconscious 4323, it does make sense that you kind of teach yourself as you speak, because you don't know what you're going to say until it comes out of you through that channel. So that'll give you something to think about, you know, and then it's when you get to share it with your friends that you get to share maybe the insights that you've heard yourself speak, and they have some reaction to that in some way. But basically, you speak it again, and you speak it again to another. It's in that moment that you can really see whether it's going to be right for you. And when I say see, it's see with the splenic sensations. So it's the electricity that runs through you, the shiver that comes, the sudden recognition that, wait a minute, I thought that was it, but it's not. It's this. It's just a little bit more different. And then you mention that and they go, wow, that's a great idea. And you go, yes, that's it. So no, it's not right to regard your mind as a decision maker. And I hope that's made that clear. The second part of your question regarding the fear that you feel, I mean, yeah, you have a conscious fear of not being good enough. You have a conscious fear of where everything's going. You've got the 18, the 48 and the 16 that is logic. So logic is about projecting into the future. And in that sense, when you see the chaos around the world and the way everything's changing, I think fear is a very natural sensation to have. And my advice on that is really to surround yourself with people that are aware of what's going on and that have found some way to track their way through it. So again, future projection, but being around the right people, and the right people around you will take away some of that fear because they'll already be aware of where it can lead to some degree. But getting lost in fear and making decisions out of fear that is inappropriate, no, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. That open root of yours will kind of get you wired up when it's under pressure. So that's really what I would say. Do your best, you know, follow your own track and be as prepared as you can for all kinds of things that may happen. Good things as well. All right. Thank you for your question. Next question is from a regular 5cat. This is their question. Do hanging gates where both the design and personality are indicated, for me, the 17, 18, and 46, affect a person differently than having just one or the other, as there is both a conscious and unconscious energy in those areas. And secondly, how long does energy picked up from another person or a transit that then completes one of your open centers or a channel tend to last after the person is out of the aura or the transit has moved on? Are these energy absorptions generally more intense for projectors and reflectors and those who have more open centers? Well, that's a good question, and I'm sure lots of people have thought about that, so thank you. When you've got something that is black and red, when it's red, it's something that is unconscious, so you may be unaware of it. So let's say that you have that in the 46 line 1. I don't know what lines you have. So that would be in the line of being discovered. So it might be, suddenly you find yourself opening up to someone who's very creative, that's been doing something for a long time, and they haven't really been noticed. Maybe you're the person that will find that and be expanded by their work and give them some encouragement, or maybe even help them with it. But you don't recognize yourself doing that. It's just kind of, whoa, look at that, isn't that amazing? The other thing, let's say you have the 46 in the 5th line in the conscious side. So this would be in the line of pacing. This would be when you're going about your work. I don't know what work you're in, but let's say you're in some creative work and you've got different ideas of different things that you want to make, but you're going to stay with the things that have brought you success. That is the line of pacing. Gently, gently, let me stay with the things that are successful, and I will expand through that. I will expand in my life. I will expand in my expertise. I will expand financially because I already know they're going to sell. That is kind of like a primary practical way of dealing with that line. And you'll be aware of that. So that's what I would say to the first question. The second question, how long does conditioning last? Well, that's a really difficult question to answer, because if you have an open center and it's kind of piles up through the filters that you've got. So if you've had bad experiences filtering energy or awareness through one of the gates in an open center, you're going to be picking on that. You're going to be more sensitive to that. Having said that, the actual the transit is easy. Let's say it's the quickest transit, the moon transit, somewhere between 8 and 12 hours. That will be connected. With a person, you're going to be with them, again, depending on what kind of energy, depending on how your life has been led, you're going to be impacted by them anyway, positively or negatively. If I take the emotional center, which is one of the most dynamic and dramatic, so get all revved up in a happy emotional connection with someone, and then you walk away feeling very pleased with that, and it says it's an enjoyable meeting. How long does it last? Well, when you're out of the aura and you're going to be back to your normal non-emotional self, and no doubt you'll be getting involved with things that you normally do, and it'll just kind of calm down. So I can't give you a time. It depends on what the quality it is that comes to you in the open center. And as I said, some of it is going to be held on to more than others based on the overlap of conditioning that you've received through your life. So Ra gives an example of when he was with one of his ex-wives, and he was so angry. He's so angry. She was an emotional being. And he walks out and he slams the door and he wants to kill her, and he's walking down the street and suddenly he's singing a happy song. It just comes through him. He was quite a musical fellow. So in that case, it didn't take long. He just needed to step out. But I don't know how long he was in the argument or whatever. I can't really say. If your mind goes in there thinking about the conditioning, thinking about where you've been jazzed up in some way, well, then it's going to last longer because your mind's going to catch on to it. And I think that's probably what happens to a lot of people. The whole point of human design is that you get to see what you're not. You get to recognize your behavior that doesn't fit with you. And that's something that comes over time and with experience. And in that case, you can track it pretty quickly and just not give it energy. Don't feed the bad wolf within you. And if it is a nice feeling from the solar plexus, then enjoy it, take it in. You don't want to particularly get rid of the positive connection, do you? But it will dwindle out as you go into the rest of the day. So I can't be precise about your question for a number of reasons, but I hope I've shared the mechanics of it and something for you to ponder. Thank you for the question. And talking of conditioning and sensitivity, let's have another question from another regular, Alves. This is the question. How do we deal with the increasing sensitivity we gain as we decondition and start living as ourself? More specifically, with sensitivity to the negative. I ask this because I find myself more and more sensitive to things around me, especially negative things. And it is having a very strong impact on me recently. In fact, I find myself more and more negative and sad and tired, and it brings my not self back. I am trying to live as myself, so I get sensitive to everything as a result. But getting sensitive to everything makes me live in the not self. So how can we deal with this type of negative impact that comes from sensitivity of deconditioning? Well, Alves, I would simply say this is part of the process. The whole process of human design is to be differentiated from those around you. And of course, if you're taking in through open centers, down energy, it's going to pull you down if you allow it. If you have things in your life that you really enjoy, get into them. Don't let other people bring you down. Realize that you are here to be in the center of your own life, making your own decisions. That's the whole point. There is a huge, dense not self all around us. And this doesn't mean that we're going to get so sensitive, it's going to attack us because we're more sensitive. No, you're becoming aware. You're becoming aware. You just come back into yourself. Don't try to change people. Don't focus on the negative. You have the prerogative now to be able to make decisions based on your own inner authority. That in its way is a shield. Of course, the mind will be habitual and the mind will get locked into it. Just come back, come back, come back, come back. And the more you do that, the less the mind is going to get involved and the less down you're going to feel. But basically, focus on the positive. Focus on what's positive in you, in your life, and keep away the negative influences. Keep away from them. One of the tribal laws is to deal with negative influences. These are people that will suck your energy, take your resources, or more so, bring you always down. You don't have to play their game. That is the whole point. You come back to yourself. That's my response to you. Good luck. Thanks for the question. Our next question is from Renga, and this is a question about authority. Here's the question. How does my authority work if I have a defined solar plexus, but also heart and spleen? If I look at my conscious chart, I only have the spleen and heart defined. My connection from the solar plex to the throat is partially unconscious. From my experience, I'm able to decide in the moment. If I'm emotionally triggered, I'll wait out my wave. I hope you can shine your light on the matter. All right, Renga, thank you for your question. Your emotional authority is your inner authority, okay? So waiting out your wave, waiting out the feelings as they go through is your inner authority. It's not about whether it can communicate consciously or not. It can't. It comes out in an unconscious way. But you're either up and down, or up or down in the wave, or somewhere in between. You're in the process. And this is going to affect your decision-making, or what you call your decision-making, with the heart and the spleen. The heart and the spleen are defined, so there will be this intuitive and willful energy to want to make a decision in the moment based on what you know in the moment, what you perceive in the moment. However, you might not feel like it 3 days later. You know, you're not here to be someone who makes instantaneous decisions. And trying to handle it by saying, well, you know, I can do it this way and I can do it that way. Yeah, it doesn't work. You can be aware of something in the now. Yes. You can be aware of an incredible solution that's just been found. You know, something, maybe something modern, something technical that you're interested in. And the heart goes, yeah, I can put energy into that. And the spleen goes, I'm interested in that. That's a lovely thing. So fine, that's the immediate sensation. Now give it a few days. And if you still want to do it, great. The spleen can find what you can then feel into. Think about it that way. All right. Thank you for the question. And our final question is from Espen. And Espen is one of 0.54% of the population. A quadruple split. This is the question. I was hoping you'd be willing to help me understand the notion of pressure in human design. How do I deal with all the pressure in my chart? Okay, well, it is a lot of pressure. There are 9 possible gates in the root, and Espen has 6 of them. And out of that, there is this energy of ambition through the channel of transformation to really use that pressure to advance in your world in some way. Now, normally it's regarded as a material path to move up the hierarchy, to move more towards your financial freedom and freedom in your own life, and the pressure to really transform your life. That's the way it would move into the spleen. So this pressure is like fuel. I want you to think about it like that. Rather than how do I deal with it all? Yeah, you're a pressure sandwich. You've got the head and you've got the root. Not easy to handle. But at the same time, we do have an outlet that in the moment can find some way to transform the life. The decisions are made through the solar plex. And as you said, you have an unconscious connection to the heart with the solar plex. So this is something that is the channel of community, a part seeking a whole. You know, unconsciously, you'll be wanting to belong, to be part of something, to have your tribe around you. You know, as we can see from just what we've covered, the channel of transformation and the channel of community are both tribal channels. So you will want your people around you. You will want your friends around you. And you're a 2-4 to magnify that the network is very important for you. So the network will help you release the pressure to get you involved in something that you might find enjoyable. And then you can support them and they're going to be grateful to you and you're going to be a good friend. Meanwhile, we have the channel of abstraction that is fully conscious, and he's going to be thinking about everything. He's going to be thinking about what happened, the way they asked me, what I thought it would be and what it actually was. How the hell did that happen? Well, that's going to be going on too. Your own brand of personal friction in the way that you remember different things. Great for storytelling later on, perhaps. So the pressure can also be released through the 52, those times when there's a pause in what you're doing. You know, at the end of every cycle, it is natural for there to be a pause. And it's about being in the pause. Now, you're not available to pause too long, you know, because you have the 9th gate of focus. You're going to want to focus on something else when the pause comes. But it is a way to then fuel yourself into the next journey of discovery that you get involved with that will expand you. There's going to be trigger points coming from the 55 and the 30. with your root gates looking towards the solar plex. So again, when they're triggered, then you're going to be using the pressure to feel even more intensely under pressure. This is when the drama gets into melodrama. This is when the excitement gets to the point where you could really scream, you know, it can be so exciting. Or, so, oh my God, what's happened? So pressure is released through there. So really to answer your question in the biggest way that I can is to understand that the people around you are going to be very important to you, not just because you're a fourth line, but also because you're quadruple split. And it can be difficult to handle 4 different separate sides of one. But certain friends will bring certain sides out, and regularly. So you'll probably have regular friends that will make you feel better or will help you in your life. And that's very normal and actually very healthy. That's further emphasized in your chart in that as the cross of planning, you have the 9th gate in the 2nd line as the way you shine out. You shine out in collaboration with others, with the focus, the energy to focus with others in some movement or other, some project, some experiment that you might get involved with. So if you put all that together, you'll find there are plenty of ways to release the pressure. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope all the viewers that you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back again very soon with something completely different. Bye for now.